The Expressionless. It was a rainy June night in 1972 when a quiet shift at St. Mary's Hospital took an unexpected turn into horror. The emergency room was subdued, nurses sipping lukewarm coffee, and doctors chatting in hushed voices about trivial matters. The clock had just struck midnight when the sliding doors whooshed open abruptly and all eyes turned in unison. Standing there, illuminated by flickering fluorescent lights, was a woman. But this was no ordinary woman. She was dressed in a long white gown that clung to her wet skeletal frame. Rain dripped steadily from her tangled black hair, pulling around her bare feet, leaving streaks across the polished hospital floor. Yet none of these chilling details were what made everyone freeze in silent terror. It was her face, expressionless, utterly devoid of any human emotion. She stared blankly ahead, her eyes wide, unblinking, as if she was seeing something nobody else could perceive. Her lips, stained crimson with fresh blood, were parted slightly. From her mouth dangled something small and limp. It was a kitten. The young nurse at reception, Jenny, stood up slowly, her heart racing. "Ma'am, are you all right?" The woman didn't respond. She didn't even blink. Instead, she took slow, deliberate steps into the waiting area, each footfall leaving wet, crimson footprints. Everyone watched, immobilized by fear and disbelief. A security guard, Carl, approached cautiously, hand trembling over his baton. "Miss, you can't be here like this. Please, sit down." Ignoring him, she tilted her head slightly, dropping the lifeless kitten onto the floor. It landed with a sickening thud, motionless and mangled. The nurses gasped, Jenny covering her mouth in horror. Carl took a step back, his confidence quickly fading into panic. "Dr. Weaver!" Jenny cried out, her voice trembling. "We need help here. Now!" Dr. Weaver rushed forward, calm professionalism etched on his face, masking his own confusion and fear. "Ma'am, let's get you some help," he said soothingly. Reaching out carefully, he gently grasped her arm. Instantly, her calm, vacant demeanor shattered into violence. In a blur, her hand lashed out, faster than anyone could anticipate. She gripped Dr. Weaver's arm with inhuman strength. Before anyone could move, she twisted violently, the sickening crack of bones echoing through the lobby. Weaver screamed in pain, collapsing to the floor, cradling his arm. Chaos erupted as Carl lunged forward, attempting to restrain her. But she spun sharply, her nails, long, jagged, and stained crimson, slashing Carl across the face. Blood spattered the wall as he staggered backward, clutching his torn cheek, collapsing in a heap. All the while, her face remained utterly blank. No anger, no hate, no fear, nothing. Jenny pressed the emergency button desperately, hands shaking uncontrollably. The piercing wail of alarms filled the hospital corridors, lights flashing red as backup personnel raced toward the emergency area. Patients shouted from their rooms, panic spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, the woman walked steadily deeper into the hospital corridors, leaving a trail of bloody footprints behind her. Nurse Amanda, just beginning her shift, stepped from a side hallway, completely unaware. She paused, confused, as the expressionless woman approached. "Amanda!" Jenny screamed from the distance, running toward her colleague desperately. "Get away from her! Now! It was too late!" The woman moved with unnatural swiftness, gripping Amanda's face between her claw-like fingers, digging into the soft skin. Amanda's scream pierced the chaos, quickly turning into a gurgling choke. Jenny watched in sheer horror as the woman forced Amanda to look directly into her expressionless eyes. Why are you doing this?" Amanda gasped weakly. For the first time, the woman reacted. Her mouth curved slightly into a small, sinister smile. It was subtle, barely perceptible, but enough to send a chill straight through the souls of everyone watching. "Because I can," she whispered, her voice soft, chillingly melodic, yet utterly devoid of humanity. Jenny froze, terror gripping her body as the woman's eyes slowly shifted, locking onto hers. Instinctively, Jenny took a step backward, her heart hammering. Just then, police officers burst through the doors, their weapons drawn. "Freeze!" shouted the lead officer, voice thick with tension. The woman slowly turned her head to look at them, her slight smile remaining. Calmly, she raised both arms, almost mocking their attempts at authority. Officers cautiously approached, handcuffs ready. And then she started to laugh. It wasn't loud, it wasn't hysterical. It was soft and gentle, almost a giggle, but with a cold edge that sliced through the air. Suddenly, in a movement too quick to follow, she lunged forward. Shots rang out. 1, 2, 3 bullets struck her chest. Yet to everyone's disbelief, she remained standing, laughing softly, her blood dripping onto the cold tiles, blending with the pools she'd left behind. Jenny's world spun around her, reality shattered. She couldn't believe what she was witnessing. Was this a nightmare? Some unending madness? The officers faltered, stunned and terrified as the woman raised her eyes to meet theirs again, the smile now wider, teeth exposed, stained red. With slow, methodical grace, she sank to her knees, tilting her head back, eyes never leaving them. "You cannot kill what has already died," she whispered softly, her voice echoing hauntingly through the hospital's chaotic corridors. Slowly, she collapsed onto her side, lying perfectly still on the bloody floor. Everyone held their breath, waiting, half expecting her to rise again. But this time, she didn't move. Silence fell heavily, punctuated only by gasps and sobs. But the nightmare wasn't truly over. In the coming weeks, Jenny watched helplessly as each staff member present that night slowly succumbed to madness. Nightmares consumed their sleep. Visions of the woman's face haunted their waking hours. Some quit their jobs, others disappeared entirely, never to be seen again. As for Jenny, she transferred hospitals, hoping to forget, yet knowing she never would. The woman's face would forever linger in her mind. Her cold, unfeeling eyes, her blood-red smile. No one ever discovered who she was, where she'd come from, or how she'd arrived at the hospital. No records matched her fingerprints. No missing persons reports bore her description. She remained a mystery, forever nameless, forever expressionless. A sinister legend whispered among nurses and doctors, passed down through generations at St. Mary's Hospital, a warning told in frightened whispers. Pray you never see the expressionless woman, because once you have, she never truly leaves. And somewhere in the quiet, dark corners of the hospital late at night, when the lights flicker and shadows deepen, some claim you can still hear that gentle, haunting laugh echoing through the halls. A reminder that some horrors never really die. Years passed, and yet the tale lived on, gaining its own life, feeding on the fears of listeners. New recruits at St. Mary's were soon introduced to the legend, glancing warily over their shoulders during late-night shifts. One particularly stormy night, a young intern named Lucas, skeptical of ghost stories, laughed off the tale as pure fiction. He worked the graveyard shift, the usual hum of the hospital replaced by eerie silence as rain battered the windows. Around 2 a.m., as he walked the dimly lit corridors, Lucas noticed a light flicking on and off up ahead. He approached slowly, curiosity mingling with the chill in the air. The room was empty, but the light continued its erratic dance. Shrugging it off as faulty wiring, he turned to leave when a soft sound froze him in place. It was faint, almost imperceptible. A laugh, gentle, chilling, and eerily familiar, echoing through the empty halls. His pulse quickened as he spun around, wide-eyed, half expecting to see her, pale, expressionless, standing silently in the shadows. But there was nothing, only the flickering light and the soft laugh that lingered, wrapping around him, warning him. Heart pounding, Lucas backed away, deciding the story was no mere legend. Just as he reached the exit, he caught a glimpse in the reflection of the glass door, a faint female figure, long gown trailing behind, standing at the end of the corridor, watching. Terrified, Lucas fled out into the rain, breathless, never looking back, the haunting laughter echoing in his mind. And from then on, Lucas too carried the terror, becoming another link in the chain of whispered warnings, ensuring the tale of the expressionless lived on, a spectral presence in the heart of St. Mary's. For some horrors are destined to wander through the corridors of memory, an eternal reminder that darkness never entirely fades, and the expressionless woman is never truly gone. Time passed, yet the legend of the expressionless woman grew, entwining itself deeply into the fabric of St. Mary's mythology. New doctors and nurses, eager yet apprehensive, were quickly schooled in the eerie tale, eyes darting nervously toward shadowed corners. The hospital itself seemed to harbor a collective unease, as though the very walls remembered. Lights flickered more frequently, and strange noises echoed unpredictably through the halls. On another quiet night, amidst a fierce winter storm, a security guard named Ethan patrolled the near-deserted wings. The power cut out briefly, plunging the corridors into darkness. When it returned, Ethan swore he saw her, a fleeting shadow gliding past, her white gown trailing behind. He followed, heart pounding, down the corridor, hearing the familiar, haunting laughter rise once more, bouncing off the cold tiles. The sound led him to the vacant pediatric wing, where clouds obscured the moonlight. Ethan paused at an open door, the room within bathed in an unnatural, flickering glow. Stepping inside cautiously, he found nothing, only a single rusted gurney casting long, eerie shadows. A sudden chill enveloped him, the air turning distinctly colder. The laughter came again, directly behind him this time, soft and spine-chilling. Ethan turned sharply, and his flashlight beam caught her face, pale with those same dead, expressionless eyes staring into his soul. Frozen with terror, Ethan stumbled backward, dropping his flashlight. It rolled away, casting erratic beams across the room. The laughter faded, leaving him alone in the tense silence. Reports of her sightings became sporadic yet consistent, weaving a tapestry of fear that ensnared anyone who dared dismiss the tale. Eventually, renovations and technological upgrades swept through St. Mary's, erasing the old and welcoming the new. Yet even modern walls couldn't seal away her legend. Staff continued to whisper of strange disturbances, flickering lights, vanishing objects, and always, always the laughter that lingered, a ghostly serenade echoing through time. For as long as St. Mary's stood, the expressionless woman would remain a phantom of memory, a chilling reminder that some stories are carved into the very stones of reality, forever haunting those who dare to listen. That's it for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, thumbs up, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications.